Think you know what happens after death? These cults use afterlife beliefs in the most shocking ways to control their followers. The allure of afterlife promises eternal life or a special place in paradise. Such promises are incredibly tempting. Many people, feeling lost or seeking meaning, are drawn to these offers. Heaven's Gate is a prime example. This cult convinced its members they could ascend to an alien spacecraft trailing the Hale-Bopp comet by abandoning their earthly bodies. It might sound like science fiction, but to the followers, it was their ticket to salvation. Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, the leaders, had extraordinary charisma. They made their followers feel unique and chosen for this incredible destiny. The allure was powerful, transforming into immortal extraterrestrial beings. This belief was so strong that members committed mass suicide, thinking they were transitioning to a higher existence. It's a tragic and shocking testament to the power of afterlife promises. Psychological manipulation tactics. Discover the psychological tactics that turn ordinary people into devoted cult followers. Cults don't just promise the afterlife, they use sophisticated psychological tactics to make these promises believable. They exploit vulnerabilities, create isolation, and foster a sense of irreplaceable belonging. Consider the People's Temple, led by Jim Jones. He wasn't just a preacher, he was a master manipulator. His sermons were fiery, his promises grand, and his control over his followers was absolute. Jones had a way of instilling fear of damnation, fear of the outside world, fear of losing salvation. His followers were moved to Jonestown, a remote settlement in Guyana, cut off from the world. This isolation intensified their dependence on him. The Jonestown massacre, where over 900 lives were lost, is a grim example. Convinced they had no other escape, they drank poison, believing it was their only path to salvation. This tragic event highlights how cults manipulate their followers with psychological tactics, turning promises into powerful tools of control. The role of fear and isolation. Uncover how cults use fear and isolation to maintain an iron grip on their followers. Fear is a powerful tool, and cults wield it masterfully. They use the fear of eternal damnation or missing out on paradise to isolate and control members. The movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God exploited apocalyptic fears to keep followers in line. They convinced members that the world's end was imminent and that strict adherence to their rules was the only way to survive. When their prophecy of the apocalypse didn't come true, the leaders orchestrated a horrific mass murder to maintain control. Followers were gathered in a church that was then set on fire, trapping and killing over 500 people. The fear of eternal punishment and the promise of salvation were so deeply ingrained that followers were willing to die rather than question the leaders. This tragic event underscores how fear and isolation can be used to manipulate and control. The economic exploitation. Explore how cults exploit their members financially, promising paradise in exchange for everything. Cults often exploit their members financially, using afterlife promises to justify extreme demands. They convince followers that financial sacrifices are necessary for a better afterlife. The Order of the Solar Temple is a stark example. Members were required to donate large sums of money, believing it would secure their place in a higher plane of existence. This financial exploitation left many members bankrupt, further tying them to the cult. They were trapped, unable to leave due to financial ruin. The leaders used these donations to live lavishly, while members were promised a glorious afterlife. This manipulation created a cycle of dependence and control, showing how economic exploitation is a key tactic in maintaining power over followers. The promise of a better afterlife was so powerful, members were willing to sacrifice everything for it. Stories of survival. Breaking free from a cult's grip is no small feat. Survivors often share harrowing stories of escape and recovery, shedding light on the intense manipulation they endured. Take the case of Rick Allen Ross, a renowned cult intervention specialist. He once worked with a former member of the Branch Davidians, a group infamous for the Waco siege. The survivors recounted how they were brainwashed to believe that only by following their leader, David Koresh, could they avoid eternal damnation. The fear was so deep that leaving seemed impossible, but with courage and support, they broke free. These stories are powerful reminders of the human spirit's resilience. They show that even in the darkest situations, escape and recovery are possible. The transformation process. How does an ordinary person become a devoted cult follower? It's often a gradual, insidious process. Cult leaders use step-by-step indoctrination to reshape beliefs and identities. For example, consider the story of a former member of Scientology. Initially drawn in by the promise of self-improvement, they soon found themselves immersed in a world of strict rules and intense psychological pressure. Each step deeper into the cult was marked by increasing isolation from friends and family, constant reinforcement of the leader's teachings, and subtle yet powerful shifts in their worldview. By the time they realized the extent of the control, they were in too deep. Understanding this transformation process helps us recognize the signs of manipulation early, and provides a cautionary tale for those seeking meaning and belonging. The impact on families. But what about the families left behind? The emotional toll on loved ones is immense. Parents, siblings, and friends often find themselves helpless as they watch someone they care about become more entangled in the cult's web. Many spend years trying to reconnect, sometimes even hiring experts to help rescue their loved ones from these manipulative groups. It's a heartbreaking struggle, filled with sleepless nights and endless worry. Imagine the pain of seeing someone you love transform into a stranger, all because of a cult's influence. The ripple effect of cult manipulation reaches far beyond just the individuals ensnared. It devastates entire families. The aftermath for survivors. The aftermath of leaving a cult can be incredibly challenging. Survivors often face psychological and emotional scars that last a lifetime. Take the example of Deborah Layton, a former member of the People's Temple. After escaping, she struggled with guilt and trauma, haunted by the memories of those who didn't make it out. Deborah's journey to recovery involved therapy, support groups, and a lot of personal strength. Her story highlights the importance of mental health support for cult survivors. It's a tough road, but hearing these stories of resilience and recovery can be incredibly inspiring. They remind us of the power of human strength and the possibility of finding a new beginning after such intense manipulation. Red flags to watch out for. Could you or someone you know be at risk of falling into a cult? Recognizing the warning signs early can make all the difference. Key red flags include excessive devotion to a charismatic leader, isolation from friends and family, and demands for financial contributions. If a group promises exclusive access to salvation or hidden truths, it's crucial to be cautious. Knowing these signs can help protect yourself and others from falling victim to the manipulative tactics of a cult. Stay informed and trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Educate yourself and those around you about these dangers, and always prioritize critical thinking and personal autonomy. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon